Hi, you're welcome back to clip 24A, a continuation of clip 24 taken outdoors on the subject of climate and climate change, how it affects us all and how it affects the farmer in particular. And we are told that 97% of scientists, 97%, approve of the reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That's IPCC. So we're going to take a look at that. Now, I'm going to read a list of scientists, and you'll know some of them, who do not agree. And this is taken off the Wikipedia website, but I know these people, some of them are on social media, and I've actually spoken to some of them. And I know there are a lot more than these. So we'll go through them. So this heading is Scientists Questioning the Accuracy of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Projections. The scientists have said that it is not possible to project global climate accurately enough to justify the ranges projected for temperature and sea level rise over the 21st century. They may not conclude specifically that the current Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change projections are either too high or too low, but that the projections are likely to be inaccurate due to inadequacies of current global climate modelling. So essentially these people are saying that you can't draw the conclusions that are being drawn and which are being used to do all sorts of things to the people from the data that's available, and that the modelling on which it's based is not correct. So in effect, this would coincide a lot with what I'm saying. Who can really predict what the climate will be like in the future? Either way. And it was always a bit of a question hanging over humanity. And indeed, in some ancient tribes, as we know, they went to great extremes due to the hysteria created when the weather failed to grow the crops, or whatever it was. We know that in the Inca civilizations and the civilizations of South America, they buried young babies alive, thinking that the appeasement it did to the gods was going to change the weather. So it's not anything new for there to be hysteria over the weather. So first on the list is David Bellamy, the botanist. We know him well from the television. He had a particular interest in the Burren area of County Clare and the special dry limestone environment there. So this man has suffered greatly. He used to be equal nearly to David Attenborough on the BBC. But as soon as he came out and changed his views, he was never allowed on it again. It has cost him an absolute fortune. It is so grossly unfair for the BBC, a publicly funded broadcaster, to take such a set on and to discriminate against David Bellamy. But that's what they have done. That's what they have done. And this is the vicious pressure that's brought on all of us to conform, and why it takes a lot of effort and a lot of courage to fight these people, and why I fight them. So that's David Bellamy, number one. Leonard Bestickson. He's a meteorologist reading at Reading University. I haven't actually heard of him. LENNRTBENGTSSON. Okay. Piers Corbyn. I know him very well. He's a brother of Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader in Britain. And he's the owner of a business, Weather Action, which makes weather forecasts. They're involved in weather forecasting. And he's made a lot of money out of betting on the weather and climate being wrong. And he's actually managed to forecast some winters and some long-term trends. So he's no fool. And he's a highly qualified climatologist, a highly qualified senior scientist. And no doubt he has suffered too. He's a very thin sort of man. He'll Google him there if you have email or the Google. So he's no lightweight, and he is totally against this hysterical conclusions that's been drawn from the data. And I heard him speak myself, and he's more than just saying you can't draw conclusions. He's saying quite simply they are wrong. WRONG. 3 is Susan Crawford, zoologist, adjunct professor in anthropology at the University of Victoria. No lightweight. Judith Curry, professor and former chair of the School of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at the Georgia Institute of Technology. Robert Davis, professor of environmental sciences at the University of Virginia in America. Joseph D'Aleo, past chairman, American Meteorology Society Committee. He's the past chairman. I don't know why he left, but he wasn't going to be kept there one way or the other. Past chairman of American Meteorology Society's Committee on Weather Analysis and Forecasting, and former professor of meteorology, Linton State College. No lightweight either. Freeman Dyson, he's regularly on there and I've watched him, and he claims to some extent that there may be some very slight effect of CO2 in the atmosphere, but he says it's nothing like what the hysteria and the predictions are creating. You'll get him there yourself. Professor Emeritus at the School of Natural Sciences, Institution of Study, Fellow of the Royal Society. At one time something was taught of these people. Not now, because politics in the form of Al Gore, a failed US presidential candidate, has taken precedence. Ivar, Gierever, Giever, Norwegian-American physicist and Nobel laureate in physics. Nobel laureate in physics. Right? Well, the lefties that are pushing this, they debunk all these. And these guys with no education are trying to tell us these people don't know what they're talking about. Stephen E. Koonin, theoretical physicist and director of the Center of Urban Science and Progress at New York University. Science and Progress. Robert Lindzen, Lindzen, Alfred P. Sloan, Emeritus Professor of Atmospheric Science at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and member of the National Academy of Sciences. I'm not sure what the second name there means, but Richard Lindzen, anyway. It may be that the Alfred P. Sloan Emeritus or something is something different. Maybe it's the name of an institution. Maybe there are two of them. Anyway, there's one there at least. Craig Loesch, Loehle, ecologist and chief scientist at the National Council for Air and Stream Improvement. Okay? Craig, Loehle. Ross McKittrick, professor of economics and chair at the Sustainable Commerce University of Guelph. I don't know exactly where that is. I always laugh at the name McKittrick because we had a famous character here about a century ago called Jack McKittrick. He was involved in a bit of a schmozzle in Maharatloon and he was imprisoned in Dundalk jail from where he escaped. Anyway, I digress. Ross McKittrick, anyway, professor of economics at CBE, chair in Sustainable Commerce University at GUELPH. Okay, good. Patrick Moore, former president of Greenpeace Canada. This is the founder of Greenpeace. Recently, the Poles boarded their ship when they tried to stop the importation of coal into Gdansk in Poland. This man started off trying to protect the earth and is still, like myself, hugely concerned about the effects of pollution, etc. on the earth and deforestation. And he has been forced to come out and realise that what he tried to do in a decent effort as founder of Greenpeace has been hijacked by a crowd of Trotskyite globalist cultural Marxists who have a totally different agenda and which is now being felt by Irish farmers, soon to be felt by Irish motorists, and soon to leave us in the cold of winter with no heat. Repeat again, Patrick Moore. He's number 14 on the list. He's the founder of Greenpeace. And he says, stop it. Stop this hysteria. Nils Axt Marner. Now this is obviously some type of foreign name. Retired head of Paleogeophysics and Geodynamics, Department of Stockholm University. So Stockholm in Scandinavia. So that's alright, you understand that. That's why it's a hard word to read. So he's head of Paleophysics and Geodynamics. Right? No mean job. Niall Axis. Oh, sorry, I'm not reading that again now. Gart Paltridge, Paltridge, retired chief research scientist. Note the word retired. When they are retired, they feel they are free to try and speak out. When they are working, they can't. Retired chief research scientist, CSIRO Division of Atmospheric Research, and retired director of the Institute of Antarctic Cooperative Research Centre, visiting fellow Australian National University. Okay, it's number 6. Number 17, Roger A. Pielke, Pielke, Jr., Director of the Sports Governance Centre within the Department of Athletics at the Centre for Science and Technology Research at Colorado University in Boulder, Colorado, it appears to be. Okay. Dennis Rancourt, R-I-N-C-O-U-R-T, Dennis Rancourt. Former professor in physics at the University of Ottawa in Canada, research scientist in condensed matter physics and in environmental and soil science. No mean achievement. He had to study to get that job. Greta Thunberg is a dropout at 16 years of age, and she gets more credit than the likes of that man. Harrison Schmitt, S-C-H-M-I-T-T, geologist, Apollo 11 astronaut, and former US Senator. So, I didn't actually know that he was an Apollo astronaut. So he is one of them to come out against it. And he had to risk his life to get up there, I'm sure. Peter Stibbs, Professor of Physical Chemistry at Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. And Sweden is a very left-wing country, so he must feel the heat. Philip Scott, Professor Emeritus at Biogeography at the University of London. Henrik Tannekes, Tenix, retired, note the word retired again, Director of Research, Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute. I mean, how much evidence do we need, folks? In fact, I'll have to divide this into 2 videos. It's going to be too long. Anastasius Sonis, now that word is T-S-O-N-I-S, Distinguished Professor of Atmospheric Science at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I would not sure if that's a man or a woman there, but anyway. Fitz van Holt, German physician and energy executive with a doctorate in chemistry. Now we're at number 24 and we're at 13 minutes, so I'm going to go on another little bit till I get my second sheet and just pause for a second. Just to digress again, I bought this camera, it's a Abiloi, and it's a cheap Chinese type, but it has a pause feature, and I could find no other camera with that feature. Amazing. After searching, I was told by the suppliers there is none. But this one does it. It's an Abiloi. It's cheap and cheerful. I think it was €120 or something. But anyway, that's it. I bought it for that reason, and it's paying off. It's a great facility to be able to just turn off and get your papers. And if you want to get a drink of water in the middle of your video, you can do it. So I hope that they all start producing that feature. Anyway, we now have 24. The next ones are scientists argue that global warming is principally caused by natural processes. These scientists have said that the observed warming is more likely to be attributable to natural causes than human activities. So there seems to be a consensus that there is a very slight warming. A very slight warming. And we'll look into that separately. But my analysis over the last 20 years for the South Pole data and the North Pole data, which I'll deal with separately, shows that it's not there. I can't find it. in day-to-day records. Anyway, their views on climate change is usually described in more detail in their biographical articles. So these people say whether there is warming or not is not due to mankind. Kabilbu Astomasatov, astrophysicist at Poloski Observatory in the Russian Academy of Sciences. I'll spell his second name. Abdusamatov. Okay? That's number 25. Number 26. Salit Balinas, Baliunas, Balinas, retired again, astrophysicist, Harvard Smithsonian Center of Astrophysics. So that's USA. He's retired. Now Russia doesn't seem to mind people coming out against it. Timothy Ball, historical climatologist and retired professor of geography at the University of Winnipeg in Canada. And he's retired again. Ian Clark, hydrologist, professor, Department of Earth Sciences, University of Ottawa. I take it that's to do with water behaviour underground and that. Vincent Courtilot, Courtilot, geophysicist, member of the French Academy of Sciences. Doug Emeades, Emeades, soil scientist, officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit. 18 minutes. 31. David Douglas, solid state physicist, professor, Department of Physics and Astronomy, University of Rochester. 32. Don Easterbrook, Emeritus Professor of Geology, Western Washington University. 33. William Harper, physicist specializing in optics and spectroscopy, Emeritus Professor, Princeton University, which is where Albert Einstein hung around. It's in New Jersey. Victor Manuel Villarosa Herrera, Herrera, theoretical physicist and researcher, Institute of Geophysics, at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. 35. Ole Humston, Professor of Geology at the University of Oslo. Now at 35 folks and 18 minutes in, and I hope you understand that if I shout a little it's to be picked up on the camera. I note when I do videos I often drop off my words at the end of a sentence and it leaves it very hard. So I'm going to stop here now. We're at 35 and I'm going to pick it up again with another video and continue this so that I know it may be boring. But it is unbelievable the amount of very, very eminent people who say they're totally wrong. And I can think of more of them. So it's just to debunk all this green baloney we're getting. And come here, I will see you back now in just a minute. I'm going to just have a cup of tea and get back again and finish this list out. And please, if you can, just watch it. If you haven't time, just tell your friends. We have 50 people. 50, no. When you take the sea scientists and all, there's a lot. I'm not going to tell you the number because you won't view in again. So come back in a minute. Thank you.